Alright, welcome back to another video. We're going to be doing shoulders, hitting shoulders today. So we'll start off every shoulder week, we'll start off with some shrugs before hitting up Viking presses, then moving on to chest supported reverse flies, then chest supported barbell face pulls, then face pulls with a cable, and then we'll finish off with some lateral raises. Let's get to it. Their fucking gloves are falling to bits here. So they are. Maybe time to get new ones. Oh. Right. I'll be honest, I don't think I'm gonna go too much heavier on shrugs for the next wee while. And you'll notice as well whenever I'm doing shrugs, it nearly looks like I'm rolling up. I bend my elbows whenever I'm shrugging. So I do. That's just because whenever I bend my elbows, I feel it more in my traps. So I do, and that's it tends to help me sort of focus. You know, make a bit more of a connection with the trap. I'm also not a fan of using the straight bar. I used to shrug with the straight bar, but in order to hit your traps properly with a straight bar, you have to kind of lean forward a little bit. Now I still do lean forward a bit, because obviously you're not hitting your traps properly. You're not hitting your traps properly if you're just bringing your shoulders up to your ears, as it were. You need to try and get your shoulders behind you, nearly as if you're trying to get your shoulders behind your head. So you do kind of need to lean forward a little bit. But with the straight bar, just because it's in front of you that bit more, I found I was having to like lean forward a good bit more than what I do with the trap bar, which throws a bit of extra pressure onto the lower back. So it does. But just to get back to what I was saying, I'm not going to go too much heavier. I don't think for the rest of this mesocycle on shrugs. I'm pretty happy with the size of my traps, so I don't need to waste too much, to build up too much fatigue worrying about trying to grow them. So we'll just stick with the weight that we've got, and probably for the next 3, I think there's about 3 more weeks left in this mesocycle. So we'll stick with the weight that we have there. But I know that I can go heavier if I want to, but I don't really, like I said, I don't really need to focus on my traps. I think I'm happy enough with the size of my traps compared to the rest of my back. Yeah, anyway, let's hit up this next set here. Shit. And that's one of the downsides of the trap bar. If your hand placement's not absolutely perfect, and I think I've said this in 2 other videos now, it basically acts like a big flywheel, especially in that bar, because it's not, there's no bearings in it. Very, very annoying. So it is. That's why I had to set that down there. I could feel the bar starting to rotate forward. The last thing you want to do with a trap bar is let it rotate too far, especially forward. If it rotates too far forward, you have trouble. The back bar of it can catch in your butt as you're lowering it down. Very unfortunate. Anyhow. Right. Alright, that'll do us for, I think that'll do us for shrugs for today. Another tip when you're doing shrugs, let the bar really drag the bar drag your arms right down, and you can get quite a good stretch when you're doing shrugs, just by letting the bar come straight down. And don't try and hold it, don't try and hold it in a tense position at the bottom, and just do this part. Let it come right down. Let the bar drag the shoulders right the way down, and then hike up into it. Again, try and get your shoulders. Imagine you're trying to get your shoulders behind your head nearly. And don't worry, like I said, don't worry about if you're bending your arms but you can feel it in your traps. You're still, really what you're looking for is shoulder elevation. So it is, so you're trying to get your shoulder behind your head, lifting your shoulders up. So it doesn't matter if you're bending your arms. Yes, you're going to be you're going to be bringing your biceps into the movement to try and sort of bring that weight up. But so long as you think about it, your biceps, first of all, are a much smaller muscle group than your traps. So even if you're using your biceps to pull it up, so long as the traps is moving through their full range of motion, it doesn't really matter. I mean, your traps won't go much further than about here, so they won't. I think that's my traps pretty much as high up as I can get them. So it doesn't matter if you pull your elbows up and back and use your, you know what I mean. So long as you're engaging your you're engaging your traps, then it doesn't really matter too much if you're bending your arms or not. And like I said, for me personally, when I bend my elbows, I can feel it more in my traps, so I can. I think that's something that a lot of people forget about when they're doing, when they're thinking about compound movements versus isolation movements. If you think about how your body moves naturally, there are very few things that you do with your body where any one muscle group's working in isolation from every other muscle group. Most movements that you do, you're using multiple muscle groups together. So it's how each individual person has learned to connect with each of those muscle groups to do a particular movement. Shrugs is a perfect example of that. Like, who does this? What movement is this? It's not. You know what I mean? But if you're picking something up, that is a movement that you might, if you're picking something off a desk or off, that is a movement. It's like deadlifts is a movement that you do on a regular basis, or squats is a movement that you do on a regular basis. But like a shrug, you wouldn't normally do that as part of your life. So you wouldn't. So it then becomes a question of, well, can you make it more effective for your mind to turn it into a different movement that works those same muscle groups, that will maybe allow you to actuate each of those individual muscles in a more efficient way to produce more power. Anyway, we're going to set up here. We'll do Viking Press now. Need to be careful here. I felt a bit of a niggle there in the left side of my left erector, I think it was. Need to just be careful. That's one of the downsides of doing a Viking press over something like a seated dumbbell press or a seated overhead press, is that you can use your legs to kind of drive the weight up. Unfortunately, that can cause impact loading, and you slightly elevated risk of injury. So we just need to pay attention to that. We might not go as heavy, and we'll see how this next set feels. We might not go as heavy as what we went last week, if that proves to be something of a concern for me. So also, that brings me on to another point. Why do I do a Viking press as opposed to something like a seated dumbbell press or an overhead press? The reason I don't do overhead presses is because they're less stable than the Viking press, and I tend to find myself leaning back quite a bit, which puts more sort of stress onto your back. The reason I don't do a seated dumbbell press, and it's really just because I'm lazy and I can't be annoyed taking the cable attachment on and off the bench. Otherwise I would do a seated dumbbell press. Seated dumbbell press, in my view, in my opinion, is probably a better exercise even than the Viking press. The other reason I like the Viking press is because, although you can do this with a dumbbell press as well, it's that it's a neutral grip. I don't like flaring my elbows out. It hurts my shoulders, my right shoulder in particular. It hurts it a bit too much. It's one of the reasons as well why I don't bench press with a barbell anymore, because I found myself flaring my elbows away out. I find it difficult I need to bring my hands in order to tuck my elbows in, just to take the strain off that shoulder. Anyway, it is what it is. But yeah, it's just pure laziness. I can't be annoyed taking the cable attachment off the bench to do seated dumbbell presses. The other thing is it's easier to get the weight off the ground with the Viking press as well, because you're using your two hands at the same time and it's attached at the other end. You're not having to try and kick it up. Well, kicking it up is it's just awkward. It's not, Anyway, let's hit up set 2 here. See what this back feels like. Right. So this is going to take us back to, I believe this is going to take us back to our previous, the weight we did last week, which was a previous best, or a new personal best, on this lift for me. So we'll see what we can't achieve with it this week. Try and consolidate. Try and consolidate some of the lift that we did last week. It's actually that's another something I haven't talked about in any previous video, especially as a natural, is you can't always expect to make, especially when you've been training for a while, you can't always expect to make huge gains week on week. Again, doubly so whenever you've been doing it's not a new exercise that you're doing. If you're doing a new exercise, you can week over week for a few weeks anyway, you can expect to make some good gains. But whenever you're talking about an exercise that's not novel to you and you've been training a while and you are natural, a lot of times what you find is you'll go 2, 3, I've went even as many as 5 weeks in a row where I haven't made any gains at all, just been holding station as it were, and then all of a sudden you'll get a small increase, increase in your gains. Usually what happens is you find that the exercise, especially if you're doing it over a number of weeks like that at the same way, you're not making any, or it doesn't look like you're making any progress, what you find is sometimes it'll become easier. The movement will become easier, or it feels a bit easier week over week, even though you're not able to add any extra weight or any extra reps for that matter. But you shouldn't ever be afraid to do what I'm doing now. I just last week had a personal best on this lift. So this week I'm going back to it to see, can I consolidate that? Can I do the same thing again? If I can do the same thing again, then it's likely that I'm sort of setting in stone the gains that I made last week. It's not just a one-off or a two-off. Right. Oh. All right, that's disappointing. Believe it or not, that wasn't failure. What that was I didn't have a good enough grip on my left hand. The bar was sat too far down over my fucking thumb. So it was, instead of being sort of across here and the palm, it was sat across here. So it was struggling with balancing that left side. So that's very unfortunate. That's two reps less than what we did last week. So what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a couple of minutes and I'm going to do another we'll try and get another 4 or 5 4 or 5 reps with that same weight. So I will just to assuage my bruised and shattered ego. All right, I'm a bit more happy with that. So I am. However, I'm gonna have to maybe play about with. My hand position when I'm lifting that up, because it started to do the same thing again. It may be these out gloves are they've seen better days. So they have. I'm not sure if it's, although it's a different part of the hand, so perhaps not. It could just be a function of the weight being at the limit of what I can lift. But we'll see. We'll come back that weight again next week and see what it feels like then. Right, let's get set up here for chest supported reverse flies. All right, chest supported dumbbell rows up next. I'm actually going to drop down. Last week I went up to, was it 10 kilos? I'm going to drop back down to 7.5 for this week, because while I was able to get all the reps last week, the problem with this exercise is that as you come down further away from your arms being like fully at 90 degrees to the floor, or fully parallel to the floor, as your arm comes down from there, the weight acts less and less on the rear delt. And what I noticed with when I was using the 10 kilo dumbbells, what I noticed was I wasn't getting even anywhere close. Really, I was only getting sort of about maybe 45, 50 degrees from it, from along that range of motion. So anyway, we're going to drop down to 7.5 kilos for this week and see how much of a difference that makes. If it makes a good difference, if I feel that it's making a good difference, we'll stick at this weight. I kind of wish, I used to do reverse cable flies on this contraption back here, but unfortunately, because it's only got one cable, it's really hard to balance yourself, and this floor is just an old concrete floor, so it's quite dusty and therefore slippery. So it is. You probably notice, and if you've watched some of my other videos, things like tricep push downs. Whenever I start to go heavy with tricep push downs, or even chest supported dumbbell rows, a lot of times my feet will slip. You'll see me kind of catch myself as my feet slip. That's just because of the concrete dust on the floor. So it is. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Ideally, what I would want to do is, instead of doing these on the bench, I would love to have like some sort of functional trainer where I could do the two arms at the same time. So I could, and that way, I can, on a functional trainer as well, you can obviously change the height of the cable, so I could literally bring the cables down in line with my arms, so that they're going straight out, hitting, targeting the rear delt, sort of primarily. Where when you're doing it again, that's one of the other disadvantages of doing it off that. You're coming down at an angle, so you're not, you're getting a bit of your lat and a bit of your rear delt as well. Anyway, let's let's see what this weight feels like and see what the reps look like more importantly. And we'll take it from, we'll do set 1, see what it looks like, see what it feels like. We can always add in the little, I've got smaller ones, smaller plates that I can add in here, so if we need to, we can bump up the weight slightly. Alright, so I kind of feel that I'll need to have a look back at the reps on the video there, but I definitely felt that those reps were better quality. However, and again, this is another limitation of this exercise. I don't know how close to failure I am on actually wearing out the target muscle in this. And I think that's a function of there's so little of the rep where the target muscle's actually like under a great deal of tension. So I feel this is part of the reason why I went to the 10 kilos last week and possibly even the week before. I definitely felt that I was closer to failure with the heavier weight, even though the actual reps weren't as good. And the problem is that I feel like I could go on and do another 10 reps with that. But then I'm questioning, is it actually my rear delt that's getting the, getting to failure, or is it everything else? Is it more systemic? Or it'll not be systemic with that amount of weight, like, but is it, is it some other muscle that I'm not trying to hit that's getting me there? Anyway, we'll soldier on with this weight and see what we're like. The good thing is the next exercise, the chest supported barbell face pull, is that gets you much closer to failure on the rear delt. So it does. You can feel the rear delt working really well with it. In fact, I feel the rear delt probably as much, maybe even more, on the barbell chest supported barbell face pull than I do on the cable face pull, the straight up face pull. Although I think that's a function of, again, that pulley not being at quite the right height. It's slightly too high, so I'm kind of pulling down into myself, which forces my elbows back and puts a bit more of the emphasis onto the mid traps. Anyway, let's hit up another set here. All right, I take it back. I can feel I can feel that getting closer to failure now. So I can. There's maybe just that. Just takes a wee bit more. Takes a bit more effort with a lighter weight, I suppose. More reps to get you closer to there. But yeah, I can definitely feel that. I can definitely feel that starting to, especially on that right side. I must be doing a better job on that right side of contracting the rear delt. I'm going to have to try and focus that on the left side too. So the your rear delt is, I think that's, your rear delt is a muscle that, again, it's a movement that you don't do normally in like real life. So you don't, as part of your daily life. So I think that's a reason why so many people have problems connecting with their rear delt, because your rear delt is in everyday life, the kind of lifts that you use your rear delt for. Your rear delt is only used as an ancillary muscle. So it's never really the primary, the primary muscle, which means that why would you have a strong connection to be able to like neurologically fire off just that muscle, just make that one muscle contract. Right, let's hit up another set here. Right. Right. We'll get set up here for chest supported barbell face pull. I'm now beginning to wonder, should I be using this weight for the lateral raise as well? Don't know. I think I'll go back to the 10 kilos for the lateral raise, I think, and see just how the thing with the lateral raise that messes me up is my right shoulder. I've actually noticed that my left shoulder is slightly bigger than my right shoulder. Because of that, I tend to hitch the right shoulder because there's got a bit of a niggle there. Now, it hasn't helped this mesocycle. I've went back to trying to keep my arms a bit further back with a lateral raise, and what that has meant has been it's hurting that shoulder more. You get up to about here, and then like it feels like it's locking, like the joint's locking, and I have to try and hike. What I've noticed in the past is keeping my elbows, bending keeping the weight in front of my body, and lifting my elbows, trying to lift my elbows up, tends to put less strain into that joint. It's still there, but it's to a lesser degree. It is what it is. You gotta work around your own limitations. Right, let's get set up here for this next exercise. Ah. All right, I made a tactical error there. I went in just for the heaviest. It was the weight for the top set last week. I went in straight for the warm-up set of that this week. We'll see how set 2 goes. I might drop back a couple of kilos for the top set, reverse pyramid style, just depending on how this second set feels. I've said this before in previous videos too. The chest supported barbell face pull is the sort of exercise that you can really easy. You can go too heavy on it and turn it into just a chest supported row, a high chest supported row, and you end up, it's all to do with where you're pulling your elbows to. You need to try and flare your elbows out and keep the bar sort of, don't let your elbows come back. If you let your elbows come back, you're going to bring your mid traps into it. You need to try and keep your elbows flared forward and keep the bar, as it were, nearly try and bend the bar. Imagine you're trying to bend the bar out the way, bend it down into yourself. I'm not sure what that internal rotation. Keep your shoulders internally rotated. That's external rotation, isn't it? I'm not an expert in these things, as you can tell. You want to flare your elbows away out anyway, as far out as you can get them, and try and keep them there on the way up. Try resist the temptation, because you'll want to start using your lats and your mid traps to help you whenever it gets too heavy. So this is one of the few exercises that I would recommend, even though it's safe to go to failure on, obviously, but even though it's safe to really load it, you will not get the benefit on your rear delts if you load it too heavy. So it's nearly better to underload it and do a load of reps than it is to overload it and end up not hitting the target muscle. Anyway, let's head up another set here, and what we'll do is I'll judge by how this next set goes as to whether I want to drop the weight down or keep it the same. It didn't help that last set as well. I was sitting a wee bit too high on the bench, so it was, which makes it a bit more awkward. Anyway, let's go. Okay, that didn't feel too bad that time, so it didn't. I think this is pretty much the limit of what I can lift in this particular exercise for the time being anyway. No, in fact, you want to know what? I'm going to throw 1 more kilo onto it just to see. So I am. Let's grab a couple of wee half kilos. Now I'll be able to pull this weight. I've no doubt I'll be able to pull this weight, but how much more quickly do you feel your form breaking down? That's always a good way to, or can be a good way to estimate how close you are to your maximum potential. I know, like the current internet trend is absolute perfect form, no margin for error. But from experience, I can tell you that it's very easy if you're going for perfect, absolute perfect form each and every time. It's very easy to start leaving reps in the tank or weight on the table, and effectively you're starting to leave intensity on the table, all in the name of getting the absolute perfect form. So a good sort of measure that I like to use from time to time, in fact most of my workouts, if I'm being honest, is how much weight can I lift before I start to feel my form break down. And you can always look back. This is a good thing about videoing your workouts. You can always look back and see on, and I've said this in the past, I think, you can always look back and see, did my form break down or not? Because sometimes you have it in your head that your form's breaking down and it's not. Other times you have it in your head that your form's perfect and it's not. So it's a good idea just to get into the habit of videotaping your workouts. Videotaping, I'm showing my age, videoing your workouts, and just reviewing back each workout to see, you know, how close to form breakdown are you, and whereabouts does that happen. Because what you, if you're training properly, what you will find is that when you start a set out, on your top set especially, you start out your top set and your form's perfect up until like rep 8, 7 or 8 or 9 or even 10. And then the last couple of reps, you can start to see your form breaking down. You'll either not get full range of motion, or there'll just be something that maybe the cadence isn't exactly right, or you're not controlling the eccentric part of the movement. But something will start to break down in your form. That's how you know that in my mind, that's perfect training, because now you know you're lifting enough weight for enough reps with exactly the right form. So you're all right. Those last 2 reps or 3 reps might not be perfect form, but the reps that were the last perfect rep was a perfect rep using the maximum amount of weight that you can possibly use. So it is at the exact right point in that set when you're stimulating the most amount of muscle growth. So you're stimulating the most amount of muscle growth with the most amount of weight and the best form. It's like you're checking all the boxes then. Where if you stop short, if every single one of your reps is 100% perfect form, well, how do you know that you couldn't have lifted more? You've no real way of telling, so you haven't. Right. Let's do the last one here. Okay, I'm pretty pleased with how that went now. So extra kilo. I think it was an extra kilo from last week anyway. But the important thing is I can feel the pump in my rear delts, which is exactly what you want. I actually think I feel the pump. I feel the pump better from that exercise in my rear delts than I do on the chest supported flies. But right, we'll get set up here now for just straight up cable face pulls. So I need to start getting a bit of a hurry on. The time's starting to get away from me a bit. Okay, I'm not feeling the, oh, trying to fucking, why the hell is that? Turn that down a bit. There we go, sorry about that. It's still overexposed. Yoink. That's a bit better. Yeah, I'm really not feeling this in my right shoulder. That's really giving me jip on my right shoulder this week. So it is. I've actually dropped 10 kilos from where I was at last week, just to try and give that shoulder a bit of a break. I'm a bit worried here, just the last exercise is going to be lateral raises, and I'm a bit worried just how uncomfortable it feels doing this. It's going to feel 10 times worse whenever I go to do the lateral raises, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I've dropped some weight off this from where I was at last week. I went a good bit, a brave bit heavier, I think, this week on the barbell face pull, so it'll all kind of come out in the wash a bit. Disappointing, but at the same time, I don't want to aggravate. If you aggravate your shoulder too much, if you think about it, it's going to have an ongoing impact on all the pressing movements that I do. So I don't want to do that, just to like feel that I've gotten the most out of my rear delta, as it were. Anyway, let's do another set here and see how that feels. Alright, that felt a little bit better. So it did. Still not 100%, but I think dropping that extra bit of weight out of there is definitely the right call. So it was. So I hit up another set of, this will be the last set of face pulls. Then we'll move on to the last exercise, which is lateral raises, and we'll see just how that goes with the lateral raises. So what you'll notice is when I'm doing lateral raises, you'll see how much pain I'm in by look at that right shoulder and see how much it does this. When it gets, the more it does that, the more sore it is. Right, let's hit up the last set here. All right, that's face pulls done. So I'm going to get broke down and set up here for lateral raises, and then that'll finish us off for shoulders and traps. Ow! Fucking hell. Yeah, I don't know if you could see it or not, but I was talking about the that right shoulder hitches. It hitches up and then gets down to about here, and I'm having to. I don't know what the hell's wrong with it, so I don't. It feels like it's kind of rubbing, the joint rubbing inside of itself. Or there's a cartilage, or yeah, it's not a ball joint, sure, it's not your shoulders, just ligaments. It feels like there's something rubbing anyway, sort of kind of between it. Like it's having to move around something, so it is. Right, I'm going to catch my breath here. Fucking hell. Right. That does it for lateral raises. I'm going to get broke down and set up now for tomorrow's workout, which is going to be arms and abs. And then we'll do the wrap up. Alright, that's going to do it for shoulders. More of a maintenance workout this week, if anything. Was a bit disappointed with the Viking Press. That I wasn't able to get the 10 reps that I was able to get last week on the top set, but I did do that makeup, sort of the fourth set to try and make up for it. Again, it wasn't really failure, muscular failure. It was the bar just was, it was rolling off the hand. So it was. I'm going to have to pay a bit more attention just to the handle position of my hand whenever I'm picking the weights up and going through, more so going through the sets. I must be doing something with that left wrist that's causing or allowing that bar to slip out. But yeah, again, it was a bit disappointing, but I did do the makeup, the fourth set, to try and make up for it. And I got a good 7 reps in the fourth set too, with minimal rest between those fourth and fifth, or the third and fourth sets. Did a bit better on the barbell face pull, and went back again on the cable face pull, but again that was because of the niggle in the shoulder. So it was, so I mean, you don't want a like I said at the time, you don't want to cause an injury or cause something to get worse, cause a niggle to get worse that makes it bleed into other exercises. So yeah, it was swings and roundabouts. The lateral raises felt them pretty good this week. So it did. Sore that right shoulder is definitely it's given me a bit of jump this week that it hadn't been for the last couple of weeks. But the lateral raises did actually feel pretty good, even though the pain was around the shoulder. So all in all, yeah, more of a maintenance week than anything else. To be honest with you, I'm starting to feel like I'm getting to the end of this mesocycle. In terms of I can feel my gains. I know this week has been a bit of an outlier insofar as the beginning of the week didn't start well with the old hangover on chest day. But aside from that, I've sort of felt that my gains are starting to slow down quite significantly now. We'll see how, like I says, we've I think 3 more weeks to go in this mesocycle before I've planned in a deload. So what we might do is just work up maintenance for the next couple of weeks. We'll see how we go next week. Does next week, sometimes you get that, you'll get a week or 2 where you're not making the best progress, or you're just maintaining. Again, whenever you're not, a lot of it's about consolidating any gains that you have made by just trying to sort of stick and maintain those gains for a week or 2 until they are fully consolidated before your body sort of adapts, and then you get the gains following on from that. However, it is what it is. We'll see what happens next week and the week after. Like I said, plan deload for the end of May coming. So we'll see how that goes. If we'll have to work to maintenance between now and then. We'll have to work to maintenance. If we continue to, if things pick up and we start to make a few more gains between now and then, happy days. It's all good. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's video. If you've enjoyed the video, feed the anabolic algorithm with a comment, shares, likes and subscribes, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.